Can the Celtics win a title with Tatum and Brown as their cornerstones?
No.
Can he go left? Is he a Robin? Is he really worth $300 million? These are only a few of the questions commonly asked when talking about Jaylen Brown. All somewhat valid questions, yet most are being proven to be ridiculously wrong this season. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Jaylen Brown was drafted to the Boston Celtics back in 2016. And he was the number 3 pick in the draft, and coincidentally, so was his future co-star Jayson Tatum. As time went on, we would all end up seeing just how eerily similar these two were. Even Jaylen Brown admitted there's a good amount of similarities.
But we kind of like polar opposites in a sense. Like Tatum is like, even in our game, like I'm more aggressive, Tatum more laid back. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of how our personalities is.
Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are two of the best ISO scorers in the entire league. I mean, they can get a bucket on almost anyone. I've seen Jaylen Brown dunk on Giannis countless of times, and let's not forget that Brown and Tatum both dunked on LeBron James. Keep that Tatum on LeBron dunk in mind, because we'll get back to that later. There was a lot of doubt about Jaylen Brown back when he first entered the league, and for the most part, none of them were really about basketball. Back in the year of 2016, when Jaylen Brown was drafted, a couple of anonymous GMs really thought that Jaylen Brown was too smart for the NBA, as funny as that may sound. They believed that he had too many interests outside of basketball and figured that he'd simply just get bored with it and retire from the sport completely. Some of the hobbies were being a part of the chess varsity team, playing piano, picking up multiple languages such as Spanish,
Yo soy dominicana también,
and attending the #1 ranked college on the Forbes list, Berkeley. On top of this, he was offered a NASA internship. Yeah, he was actually offered an internship by NASA. In addition to this, Jaylen Brown quickly became the youngest member to join the NBPA at 22. But his IQ would benefit him more than anything, as he's shown time and time again on the court. In his rookie season, he went from averaging 6 points and starting only 20 games to 14.5 points in his sophomore season, starting a staggering 70 games, which is highly impressive in today's game, as not even guys like Kawhi play that many. But it was very obvious that there was literally something in the water that Jaylen Brown was drinking, as during a one-on-one Taylor Rooks interview, the man decided to tell her and hundreds of thousands of people that watch this interview that he would have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 championship rings. 5 championship rings is more than LeBron James has. That's Kobe Bryant territory. Let me take you back to 2018, the year that Jaylen Brown said this championship thing. The Boston Celtics were a young and hungry team led by Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford. The Celtics managed to finish as the 2nd seed in the entire Eastern Conference, just behind the Toronto Raptors, who would later be renamed LeBronto Raptors. But that's a video for another time. The Celtics would find themselves in a great spot as they would steamroll their way through the conference, defeating teams like the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers. They then matched up against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. This series went all the way up to 7 games. That was it. This was the year that started off Jaylen Brown's prediction and path to become a 5-time NBA champion. The series was so close. That's until Jayson Tatum decided to poke the bear. Jayson Tatum dunked on LeBron and made it a 2-point game. But then he decided to bump LeBron James, then stare him in the eyes. Let's just say LeBron didn't take this lightly. He proceeded to leave Earth and rain hell on the entire Boston Celtics team. Marcus Morris literally grabbed LeBron James by his shoulders and still couldn't stop him. Flash forward to 2019, the Celtics were clearly on the come up as they recently signed Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, and both players were just about ready to play after being injured the year before. The Celtics signed these two so that they can go along with their younger stars, Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Things were looking pretty good for the C's, and they were a strong contender in the East. That's until Gordon Hayward got injured in the season opener versus the Cavaliers. What was even worse was Kyrie Irving had one of the worst meltdowns from a superstar in NBA history versus the Bucks, averaging 20 points on an abysmal 35% from the field. The next year was the bubble, where Jayson Tatum got blocked by Bam Adebayo in the clutch, which led to a loss in Game 1, which pretty much set the tone for the rest of that series. In addition to this, Jayson Tatum had 24 points on 35% shooting in the final game of that series, while Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, had 26 points on 59% shooting. While 2019 was an impressive jump, 2020 is when we got to see Jaylen Brown's actual star potential, because it was his first season scoring 20 points per game. After this, he never really slowed down, and the best part was that he was only 23 years old at the time and showed clear signs that he was starting to become one of those more important pieces. That following season in 2021 would actually be one of his best seasons of his career. His minutes went up, he was shooting the ball more, he shot the ball more efficiently, jumped up to 24 points per game, and managed to make his very first All-Star appearance. He was not only an All-Star, but he also placed 6th for the Most Improved Player award that year. While Jaylen Brown was doing all of this, Jayson Tatum showed zero signs of slowing down himself. Tatum was already an All-Star at the age of 21 and has been selected to be an All-Star 5 times in a row. Although the comparisons were closer than you'd think between the duo of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, as Brown wasn't too far off. This team would often be a strong playoff contender with this star duo, but for some reason, they weren't able to get over the hump. In 2022, Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum made their first finals appearance after clawing their way through the Eastern Conference. Since they won the Eastern Conference, I was looking at the BetUS website and seeing the odds for the Celtics to win the Eastern Conference again, and it's a plus 140. That isn't too bad, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in. And if you guys want to do the same as well, BetUS is offering a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Now back to the video. They swept the KD and Kyrie Brooklyn Nets while exposing Kevin Durant in a way not many have done before. They then had to face a prime Giannis Antetokounmpo who took them to 7 games damn near by himself. They also had to face a prime Jimmy Butler who also took them to 7 games in a series that went down to the wire. So again, when I say they clawed their way out the Eastern Conference, I mean it. The Boston Celtics would end up losing to the Golden State Warriors in the finals 4-2, as we got to see Stephen Curry enter his prime once again and win his first finals MVP. In addition to this, Jayson Tatum absolutely fumbled on the biggest stage, and we all got to see it. This is what ultimately brings us here. Jayson Tatum shot an abysmal 36% from the field on 21 points per game, while Jaylen Brown had shot 43% on 23.5 points per game. I think it's pretty clear who the Robin in this series was. Unfortunately for Jaylen Brown, his window to win 5 championships by the age of 28 was dwindling down. The bright side, you may ask, he was finally out of Jayson Tatum's shadow and proved that he could be the superstar of the team when it mattered the most, or so we thought. At some point during the Miami Heat series the following year in 2023, everyone realized that Jaylen Brown wasn't comfortable going left. And well, the Miami Heat took advantage of this, and it showed in the stat sheet as Jaylen Brown shot a horrible 38% from the field and had a whopping 8 turnovers with 5 fouls in the most important game of the season. Thankfully for JB, Jayson Tatum didn't do that well either in the closing game, shooting 5 for 13 and only scoring 14 points to Jaylen Brown's 19. Everyone was saying that the duo between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum was clearly not working and that it was time to break the two up. And then one of the craziest off seasons of all time happened. In this off season, we finally got to see Damian Lillard leave Portland and go to the Milwaukee Bucks. Damian Lillard and Giannis were the clear favorites of the Eastern Conference. That wasn't until the Boston Celtics decided to go get Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Both of these teams were at the peak of their powers, as the Celtics had Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, and Drew Holiday as their 4th option, and the Bucks had Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, and Chris Middleton. The matchup between these two was a great one each time, and the season series tied at 2-2. Yet at the same time, the Boston Celtics were by far the best team in the Eastern Conference record-wise, going 64-18 as a team. You can bet this transferred into the playoffs as well. The Celtics were absolutely demolishing teams. They gentlemen swept the Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then swept the Indiana Pacers as well without Kristaps Porzingis. Jaylen Brown really took advantage of that Pacers team. So much in fact that he managed to win his first Eastern Conference Finals MVP. His reaction to winning it was priceless. You can tell he was surprised himself.
Jaylen Brown.
During the post-game interview, he actually admits why he looked so surprised when asked.
What was your feeling when you heard your name called?
I wasn't expecting that at all. You know, I don't never win shit, so.
Teams were literally waving the white flag as their star players decided to sit out literal playoff games. The most fair matchup was against the Dallas Mavericks in the finals, who were on fire coming into that series, until everyone got news that Porzingis would be back in Game 1. He was arguably the best player, and he came off the bench. Having a literal 7'3" unicorn come off the bench and almost lead the team in scoring while also providing immaculate defense is all you need to know about this 2024 Celtics team. Who scored the most that game, you may ask? Jaylen Brown, of course. That Eastern Conference Finals MVP really put a battery in his back. It really let Jaylen Brown know that he's capable of so much more. I mentioned it before, but this was actually his year, as Jason Tatum had another horrible series shooting-wise on the biggest stage. Jaylen Brown did it well again, putting up 21 points on 53% shooting and 7 assists in the game too, while Tatum shot an abysmal 27 from the field with 18 points. He literally had more field goal attempts than points, going 6 for 22. In Game 3, the star duo put up 30 points each. Jaylen Brown had 30 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds in this one. While Jaylen Brown didn't do the best in the next 2 games, he still did enough to become Finals MVP, which cemented him in the NBA's long history. After winning the Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown became the first player in the NBA's history to win a Finals MVP but not make an NBA team. Talk about underrated. Not many thought Jaylen Brown would ever get to this point. Whether it be the NBA executives, opposing fan bases, or the so-called analysts, Jaylen Brown bet on himself, not like Jonte Porter, and showed everyone why he's the highest paid player in NBA history after signing that $300 million contract. JB prevailed against all odds. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I want to know who you think should have won Finals MVP. Be sure to tell me down in the comments below, and thank you to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring today's video.